will be met by one mechanic to be able to then check the bikes and then set them out for their sighting lap.
The 37th and final race of the 2021 campaign, and as always, a changing of the guard. Chaz Davies heading to retirement, Tom Sykes uncertain of his 2022 plans, Leon Haslam unfortunately withdrawn but making way at Honda after this weekend. Final appearances as well for Alvaro Bautista and Scott Redding at their current manufacturers. Look at the grid in full. 17 riders. We've lost the services of Oliver Koenig after his turn 3 crash in the very early stages of race 1, trying to impress on his superbike debut. We'd already seen the withdrawal of Leon Haslam and Alex Lowe's in advance of the weekend. But the big guns in the championship standings are all there. We've got the manufacture of the wet conditions. They're not going to be at usual racing speed, so significantly slower 12-lap race than you would normally expect if we were looking at it in the try.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see for the riders now on the way down to turn 1, everyone pushing hard off that grid. They wanted to be able to understand where their brake points were in the wet conditions. So everyone trying to use this sighting lap to get whatever information they can to give them an advantage. This is where being highly adaptable makes a big difference out there on the racetrack. You can see there as they make their way around, the racetrack looks like it's in pretty good conditions, but it is still rain falling, but there's not too much standing water out there on the surface.
Absolutely teeming down, and this is to the credit of the designers of the circuit, because the reality is a monsoon at some venues would have killed it off already. The drainage at this circuit must be excellent because it is still raining heavily.
Yeah, Mark Hughes and the team at Driven International have done a really good job at this track, and they've been able to produce a facility that everyone in the Superbike paddock has been full of praise of.
So the riders making their way through. Where are the areas of most concern? So race 2 of the 2021 Pirelli Indonesian round. In driving rain, they're underway. Good start from Andrea Locatelli. Good start as well from Garrett Gerloff. Jonathan Rea almost asleep off the line by comparison. Cutting through is Axel Bassani. Michael Ruben Rinaldi making good progress from way back down the order. Rea recovering as they come in towards turn number 1. Locatelli running wide, drops to 3rd. Garrett Gerloff also losing out around the first couple of corners, just as he did in race 1 earlier on today. Razgat Lioglu it is then who leads. It's Scott Redding back up into 2nd position. Jonathan Rea into 3rd. Then it's Locatelli versus Axel Bassani and Tati Mercado with a great start. Mercado is up ahead of the BMW boys as Bassani comes firing through on Locatelli and up into 4th place. So further back down the order, watch out for Michael Ruben Rinaldi as well. He's up into P9, and Kota Nazane also up inside the top 10. Just demonstrates what a struggle it's been so far for Garrett Gerloff. Scott Redding eyeing up a move here on top rack. Razgat Lioglu. Bassani thinking about a move on the riders ahead of him. He's going to let them fight it out among themselves instead. Rea comes through on Redding into turn 10. Razgat Lioglu off the line. Bassani almost cuts through on Redding. Again, they're almost 4 abreast as they come in towards turn 11. Razgat Lioglu hanging on, but by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, the run down into 10-4 abreast. You can see for Jonathan Rea attacking there on top rack. Not quite close enough to be able to make that move, but wanting to attack at this stage. He's feeling pretty confident out there, willing to get himself to the front of the field. Obviously, if you're at the front of the field, you don't have to deal with any of the spray as well. It'll be kicked up, but it is up to you then to dictate the pace of the group.
Top 4 per all. Big moment there for Jonathan Rea as they come through turns 13 and 14. He manages to recover into the path of Scott Redding. It opens the door to Axel Bassani. The top 4 from race 1 earlier on today are doing battle again at the head of the field in race 2. Rea comes through on Razgat Lioglu, who'd opened the door, touches the curb momentarily in a big slide there as he makes his way coming off turn 16. Rea, Razgat Lioglu, Redding, Bassani is your new order. Talked all day about Tati Mercado being a wet weather specialist. He's going with Michael van der Mark as the pair of them try to close back in on that lead quartet. Then there's a bit of a gap behind the number 36 as Razgat Lioglu fires through at the start of lap 2. Rea will immediately respond. It's the fighting we've been seeing all season, but never in conditions like this.
Yeah, a few riders making really good starts to this race. Kota Nazane as well, coming from the back row of the grid into the top 10. And the Japanese rider, he goes well in wet conditions. We saw that earlier in the season. He's made a great start to this race. He's right behind Andrea Locatelli. But like you said, Alex, Tati Mercado, once again in wet conditions, he's really excelling. Michael van der Mark as well in that number 60. He's been able to bridge a lot of those gaps.
Tati Mercado, 6th position is as good as he has ever finished. Jonathan Rea out in front. Razgat Lioglu 2nd. There is Mercado, currently sits in 6th position. He's dropping back off the tail of Michael van der Mark on this lap, but that's because van der Mark is the man making the progress at the moment. He's cut the gap to half of what it was at the start of the lap. He is now within a second of the race leader, Jonathan Rea. Razgat Lioglu, Redding, Bassani and van der Mark right with them.
Yeah, and for van der Mark, always goes well in these conditions. Top rack tries to take the race lead.
Toprak Razgatlioglu through in towards turn 12. Jonathan Ray tries to stick it out around the outside and eventually gives best as Razgatlioglu recovers the lead, and Scott Redding also here with an opportunity to pounce. Razgatlioglu not afraid of these damp conditions. You suspected that would be the case.
Yeah, Toprak's doing a really good job in these conditions, considering wet weather had been one of the weaknesses for him, but he looks pretty strong at this stage, willing to make those moves. Obviously Jonathan Ray back into the race lead now.
And here comes Scott Redding on the inside of Razgatlioglu, so Scott Redding might go from third to first here. Looks to have more confidence at this stage of the race. Ray covers the inside line as they come through turn 17 to complete lap number 2. It's now Ray, Redding, Razgatlioglu, Bassani and Vandermark. Vandermark now within striking distance. Fastest man out of that lead quintet last time around. A 1:46 flat compared to a 1:46.7 for Jonathan Ray, the race leader. So Vandermark's got a lot of confidence in that BMW package underneath him. Redding also looking good at this stage. Got right onto the tail of Jonathan Ray. Couldn't quite find his way through last time around.
Yeah, and you can see at the back of this group, Vandermark on that white BMW trying to get through an Axel Bassani. He can see that the group is starting to splinter ever so slightly. So Vandermark, he needs to make that move on Bassani quickly.
Tati Mercado broadly going with the group. A second the gap in front of him, though. 2.5 seconds, though, behind to Andrea Locatelli. So at best we got a top 6 covered by 2 seconds. Or you could look at it as a top 5 covered by just 7/10. Nose to tail. And any time someone runs slightly off the line or makes a slight error or is slightly tentative, they're going to be swallowed up by the pack here. Scott Redding proving that as they come in towards turn 10. Jonathan Ray wants to get it stopped, can't get it stopped, finally gets it turned and squares it back up the inside of Redding nicely to recover the lead as they come through turns 11 and 12. Well, this, ladies and gentlemen, was certainly worth waiting for. Coming in now to turn 12, Redding responds.
Yeah, Scott's always very strong in wet conditions. It looks like Jonathan Ray was going to try and attack him back. Ray not able to do it at this stage, but down in towards the last corner, you'd certainly expect to see him try and make another move.
And how long before Michael Vandermark makes a strike on Axel Bassani for 4th position? All 5 of these riders still very much podium contenders. And Tati Mercado will just want to hang on in there, see if he can make up ground as they begin to scrap with one another. Is that Mercado? Mercado from 6th position falls as they make their way into the final sector. That's devastation for Mercado. 6th as good as he's ever finished in the Superbike World Championship. That's where he sat, but his MIE Honda goes tumbling into the gravel trap through turn 14.
Yeah, 6th position and 10 points goes a begging for Tati Mercado. It's been a strong end to the season for him and the MIE Honda team, but it ends in a bit of a disappointment there for him in the gravel trap.
Into lap 4, Razgatlioglu through on Ray here for 2nd position. Scott Redding is taking this as an opportunity to burst away out in front. 1:45.301 last time around. Ray recovers 2nd position. Still not losing too much ground, though, to Scott Redding out in front.
Yeah, and Redding always very strong in wet conditions. This is one of those conditions as well, one of those types of conditions that having a little bit more size can really help Scott Redding, and certainly he's got that little bit more leverage of being one of the tallest riders on the grid.
Still just over a second covering this lead quintet. Kota Nazane's just moved through on Andrea Locatelli for 7th position. Nazane's previous best just 9th, so a real opportunity for him to make a name for himself in wet conditions as Jonathan Ray goes soaring around the outside of Scott Redding on the exit of turn 9. So Ray desperate to lead from the front. He will be the first to encounter any changing conditions as the rain continues to come down here at the Mandalika International Circuit. Scott Redding into 2nd place, Razgatlioglu 3rd. Redding now is going to be the next to think about a move as they come through turn 12.
Yeah, if you've ever got any questions about how good the riders are at top world class action, you're getting it right now. This is the first time they've ever been around this track in wet conditions, and now they're all really trying to figure it out on the fly. You can see Michael Vandermark at the back of the group trying to attack Axel Bassani. They're all just trying to find wherever the grip is out there, adapting corner by corner, lap by lap.
Yes, Vandermark was hoping to run the outside and give himself the inside for the next corner. It hasn't worked out for him. It's Bassani who's making progress here. Razgatlioglu going for the more conventional wider line through 15 and 16. Bassani just jams it up the inside. Toprak and Bassani clash as they come in towards turn 17. They meet in the middle. Oh, and down goes Bassani. I think he may have been collected by Michael Vandermark there after a bit of a moment coming off the final turn. And Bassani from the top 5 positions is less than happy about that. He felt he had a chance of becoming number 1 here today and taking the top independent ranking. Unfortunately, his hopes of that end in the gravel trap.
Yeah, we saw him side by side with Toprak coming through 16 and then Vandermark on turn 17 as well, and that was a little bit of inevitability there as they were coming through 15, 16 and 17, and Axel understandably very frustrated with that.
Well, Garrett Gerloff stranded down in 9th position. Bassani was looking good. He gets moved out of the way by Razgatlioglu, and here's going to be the moment for him coming off the final turn. And he does get collected somewhat there by Michael van der Mark. Wrong place, wrong time as far as Bassani is concerned.
Yeah, I think you'd want to see it from the other angle as well, just to see where van der Mark was. Obviously Toprak a little bit out of shape on the entry, and
Van der Mark lifts into the path perhaps of Axel Bassani. I'm sure this is one that will be argued both ways, 6 of one and half a dozen of another. It's one of those situations that can occur in wet conditions. We've already seen Tati Mercado steam out on his own. That one was less contentious. Axel Bassani's collision there with Michael van der Mark, after already being unsettled by Toprak Razgatlioglu, will have him feeling welcome to World SBK as a rookie. That's how aggressive it can be at the head of the field. Ray and Redding fighting it out at the front here on lap 5 of 12. Jonathan Ray, the fastest of them last time around, but Redding responding quite nicely. Meanwhile, Michael van der Mark getting through on Razgatlioglu, that's for 3rd position, and Redding doing the same to Ray at the head of the field. So no shortage of position changes on lap 5 only of race 2 here in Indonesia.
Yeah, former teammates van der Mark and Toprak Razgatlioglu. You can see how much rain is coming down. You can see how much gravel was left out in the racetrack as well there by Bassani's crash. Toprak, is he going to be close enough to attack back into turn 1? Looks like van der Mark is going to try and hold him off, but Toprak's coming down the inside.
Well, that's something we've heard before, isn't it? Toprak down the inside. Favoured opportunity there in towards turn number 1, and Razgatlioglu has got it done. Redding up at the front then. Ray in 2nd. The gap now over a second to this fight for 3rd position. These two knocking the spots off one another, and indeed the spots off Axel Bassani. They've cost one another time, and they've allowed Redding and Ray to escape away.
Yeah, the gap now 1.7 seconds between Jonathan Ray in 2nd spot, Toprak Razgatlioglu in 3rd. Van der Mark trying to come through in attack,
but can't quite get there as they make their way through the right-hander, now through the twisty stuff, in towards turn number 10. Might be a good opportunity for van der Mark, but we know how strong Razgatlioglu is on the brakes. Toprak holding firm for 3rd for the moment. These two now 2 seconds behind Ray and Redding as Razgatlioglu runs wide, and Michael van der Mark finally nips through for 3rd position, but Redding and Ray putting on a masterclass up at the head of the field.
Yeah, the gap now 2 seconds for van der Mark to try and bridge. We'll see what the pace is like when they come across the line. The one thing is, right now 1 minute 44.0 was Scott Redding's last lap time. A dry weather lap around here is about a 34 in dry race conditions, so 10 seconds off that pace. It's going to be very difficult for van der Mark to bridge any more of that gap, because the pace at the front's really fast.
Fine performance though from him. He gets himself into a podium position, could be his 3rd podium of this 2021 campaign. However, his clash with Axel Bassani under investigation, so a decision's going to be made on that as to whether there was any blame to be apportioned, as to whether there's any penalty that needs to be meted out. Reach half race distance of a race that we thought might never see the light of day. Scott Redding out the front of the field, 1 minute 43.648 in these conditions. That's astonishing. Razgatlioglu again bold on the brakes in towards turn 1. Van der Mark this time holds firm, but in trying to outbrake Razgatlioglu, he's gone too deep, and it is the new world champion who moves through into 3rd position.
Yeah, some good racing between those two riders, though. A lot of respect for each other out in the racetrack. Know each other's games inside and out after last year together at Yamaha, and Toprak just able to make that move. Van der Mark tried to brave it out around the outside. He's going to get another opportunity to attack Toprak, though. We saw last time around he was a lot faster in the second half of the lap than Toprak.
Jonathan Ray coming back at Scott Redding on this lap around, lost only half a 10th of a second on the previous lap number 6. It's back to just a 10th of a second between them now, and Jonathan Ray, in fact, we rejoin the race leading battle, and Ray has come through on Redding, and here goes van der Mark on Razgatlioglu, and quite rightly nobody knows which way to look, because it's 2 races in 1 here at the head of the field, and Razgatlioglu and van der Mark almost touch as they make their way through. The next to the right-handers, van der Mark going the long way round. It'll give him the inside now for the left-hander at turn 12, and van der Mark comes back through to recover that 3rd place.
I said, no, everyone's got nothing to lose in this race. That's how they're approaching it as well. Good battling between Razgatlioglu and van der Mark there in the scrap for 3rd.
Toprak's got a party to attend tonight, and he's not riding like it, I tell you. He's going full out, all out for a podium position here in race 2. And likewise, Jonathan Ray wants to end with back-to-back victories. Scott Redding wants to end his Ducati career on a high. Everyone's got their reason for wanting a race victory. Quick check on the riders further back down the order. Tom Sykes occupies 5th position. Kota Nazane going to be a career best if he can hold on to this. 6th position for him. Andrea Locatelli 7th. Crucially for him, Michael Ruben Rinaldi at the moment down in 9th, so that would mean he would hold a 3-point margin, Locatelli, at the end of this season, as van der Mark and Razgatlioglu almost come to blows again as they head back into turn 1. 2 completely different lines, 2 laps in